It has been a hellish day. Mount St. Helens will never be the same again.
It was a situation just straight out of hell.
This morning's violent eruption has killed at least 5 people. At least 3 others are still reported missing.
And the scene when we first flew up on the mountain was awesome.
We might point out that up to 2,000 people have been evacuated from the Toutle area. This is the black cloud of smoke and ash that billowed up from the top of Mount St. Helens shortly after 8:30 this morning. One eyewitness described this day as looking like the end of the world. The northwest face is reportedly blown off. New steam vents reported it triggered mudslides that you can see here on the north and south forks of the Toutle River. A 12 to 20-foot wall of mud, water, and trees came crashing down the mountain at 20 to 25 miles an hour, racing through the Toutle River Valley. As you can see the damage it did. You can also see what it did at Yakima at noon, high noon, and it reported as much as a ½ an inch of the fine volcanic ash right there coming down. It looked like it is midnight. It is 12 noon in Yakima. It has been a hellish day. A 3,000-acre forest fire reported. You were there. Tell me what you saw.
Bob, we arrived at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the scene when we first flew up on the mountain was awesome. Clouds of steam and ash were billowing. It seemed to us 40,000, 50,000 feet above. But it was awesome. The lightning storms that seemed to come from the top of the clouds all the way into the crater of the mountain were constant. They seemed to meet and crash and come apart. Amazing amounts of lightning as we began to fly into the area. It was very obvious to us as we arrived there that this was a major eruption, and it was nothing that even compared to what had gone, before.
We might point out that up to 2,000 people have been evacuated from the Toutle area.
We just don't have a track record on the scenario for the Pacific Northwest volcanoes. This is our learning tool. Mount St. Helens is it.
We made it about 3 miles out of Morton when all of a sudden we got into the rain, and it was raining mud, literally, just like driving through a waterfall with ink. And the mud just continually coming down harder and harder, and of course the wife and the children become very nervous, so I turned around and started back towards Morton, and it continued worse, and you couldn't see. I had the headlights on. The windshield was completely obscured, and you could only drive about 10, 15 miles an hour. We continued on out of Morton, and the siren in the city of Morton was going then, and people were leaving and driving out Highway 7. And I knew approximately where the edge of this cloud was, and that's what I was heading for, is to get us out of it, but you couldn't see. And I climbed out of the car twice to get the mud off the windshield, and it was coming down so heavy it was just completely obscured. And I got wet and covered with this stuff myself, and so we continued on, and it was stop and go with the traffic. The cars were pulled over, stopped in the middle of the road. You couldn't see tail lights, and it was just totally black. And finally, I'd say about 4 miles from Elby, we finally come out of it. But the dust from the ash had covered the road, and the dust was standing 4 to 6 feet high off the highway, and you couldn't see through the dust either. And finally, that started to ease up as we got almost to Elby, so we pulled over and cleaned up the car, and we, along with, I'd say 15 or 20 other vehicles, we stopped and started turning traffic back. And you couldn't even see back towards Morton itself. It was completely obscured.
Must have been pretty frightening.
Yes, it was. Wife is still pretty shook, and kids sort of enjoyed it. They're getting a big thrill out of it now, but it was a situation just straight out of hell.
This is the earthquake at 8:32 this morning. This is the earthquake which began the volcanic sequence, which is continuing this afternoon.